And we're back. How is everybody today? I'm doing super well. Excited that it's Friday. Oh my gosh. Whew. Anyhow, I wanted to talk today really briefly. It's going to piggyback on the last topic of your energy signature, right? But this is not just reading energy signatures of those around you, which, as we saw, could be everything from a space. Have you ever walked into a space that had a certain energy signature? Whether it's creepy or loving or filled with wonder, right? So it can be spaces, anything with an energy signature, which is everything, right? So it's, identifying what it is and what you're looking at it with clarity from a deep space within you to understand what it is that you're looking at without judgment, right? That's what we're doing here. Last class was on reading energy signatures of others, but to piggyback on that, what's your energy signature? What are you giving off, right? What are you radiating with in the world? Because that determines everything. It's like one of the greatest examples I have is of my former writing coach. And again, if I ever use you as an example in these videos, whether that's my relatives or friends or whomever, please don't take that personally, okay? I'm not saying you're doing something bad. What I'm doing is I'm coming in here and I'm saying this was my experience and this experience made me feel this way. I'm just sharing my emotional reaction and state and how those things that you're doing and that we're interacting with are making me feel, right? I'm taking an inventory of myself, not of you, okay? So please, again, if I ever use you as an example, don't feel like you're doing something wrong. You're perfect. I'm not asking you to change. I'm not saying that you're doing anything wrong at all. I'm just saying that we had an interaction and this was my response to it, okay? So, the greatest example I had of that, and I'm sure we've all experienced this, right? People who just can't see how what they're doing in the world is coming back at them in a certain way, right? Like, we all create our own karma, right? And when that boomerangs and hits you back upside the head, well, it's kind of on you because, you created that karma, that situation, right? But people don't always want to take responsibility for that. And they often can't see how they themselves are responsible for everything in their life, right? So my former coach, I gave her upwards of $10,000 to help me edit this book, right? But her coaching style, and again, me coming from a coaching background and knowing what business coaching is, there are fundamentals within that world that are kind of a given, like support your client, right? But she would pick fights with me. Openly, even on social media, she would come for me. I gave this woman a pile of money and she starts picking fights with me? She couldn't see that made me feel uncomfortable. She couldn't see that when she came into our meetings and told me how much of a disaster her life was, everything from relationships and moving in with someone that lasted an entire weekend and then she had to move back out, that says something to me about who you are, right? Eek, or, all of her technology got hacked and all of her security was gone and all of her information was leaked out to the internet because she didn't have property security controls on it. You tell me that and I've already given you a bunch of data. These red flags were going off and I was screaming inside that this woman who I've given all of my hopes and dreams and a whole pile of cash to was just so flippant. Would come before me and be a mess. I'm you're holding my hopes and dreams. This is everything that I got in the world for, the promise of a better future. And you're going to show me that you're a disaster as a person? I'm beep, 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 beep. Right? I had to start moving away from her to protect myself. But she couldn't see that her doing that was anything wrong And again, like, it's not, wrong per se. It's just that's what she's giving off as a business coach. It was just like she couldn't see it at all. It was so crazy. Like, she couldn't see how what she was doing was making me feel terrorized and insecure after giving her a whole bunch of money. And then she develops an attitude, starts picking fights with me. And I'm like, I think we're done here, right? And then come to find out her work is like not great. When I hired the second coach, she had no concept of certain literary devices, such as point of view. That when you're telling a story, it all has to be told from a singular point of view. She had me flipping points of view in the middle of a paragraph left and right, which were confusing the reader. And so my second coach is coming along going, oh, what is this? Like, this can't be. Like, first and foremost, rule number one of any good storytelling is to tell the story from a singular point of view. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. So glad someone explained that to me. My first podcast didn't do me too well, but here we go again. So, like, I know that we all have people like that in our lives who just can't see how they're standing in their own way, how they're destroying their own lives, right? But where do we do that ourselves in our own life? That requires a lot of quietness, right? And calm within, to take inventory and be aware of what's going on, what we're doing, and how it's coming back to us. Right? Because we're in charge of that. We're in charge of everything. Like I said before, The bad news is you're the problem. The good news is you're the solution. And you create every single mess that you have in your life, or at least the way that you respond to it. Right? And that, in turn, creates relationship and opportunity. Right? So what's your energy signature, right? What's your, as this video is titled, what's your Youness? You're all like, who's Youness? Youness! She's not here. But what's, and again, we've talked about a lot, like your personal vibe. What are you vibing with? Is that something that people want to be around? Are you being attractive? Do you have attractive energy so that others want to be around you and come on board Team Dale or Team whatever your gig is? Are you bringing people in or are you pushing them away? Right? And I understand that I am clearly pushing some people away because I feel like often people who stand up for bigotry think that they can get away with it. They just have. They just always have, right? And I want them to experience much of what I've experienced so that they get it. So they start waking up like, oh, that's what it feels like to be excluded, right? As I have been my entire life excluded from most traditional religious ceremonies and institutions, right? So I want them to feel that. And so I exclude some people from my life intentionally. And again, we're going to be getting to boundaries next week, not today. So, your Youness, right? What do you vibe with, right? And it was so, interesting to me to go through the exercises, with other shamanic practitioners and to discover that my internal vibe, right, is not, again, like we talked about last time, not of crow energy, but of wolf energy. Do you see it now? Because the wolf, right, the wild dogs of America, right? Their pack mentality. They will take care of their own, and if you come for their own, they will not be kidding around. That's me, right? So what are you vibing with, right? Go through other exercises like that. That was so clarifying for me to understand the wolf energy that I have within me, right? And what that means for me. But there are other exercises as well that you can do to get to that. As far as me being a more evolved human, still a work in progress. The Enneagram has been instrumental in me understanding my own natural wiring up here, right? What I love about this is that it talks about who you are under stress and where to head to in terms of evolution of your spirit, to the point where, and this is what I love the most about these books, the point of the whole exercise is for you to graduate beyond your personality and its default settings, so that you're free to choose and make other choices in the moment that are more loving, and that you have more options available to you as a, developed human, right? So let me grab it really quick. There's a couple books. Oh, and by the way, I found this one on the shelf. I just wanted to show this to you. Do yourself a favor. Do humanity a favor. Read this book. Study this book. Understand that the old ways of judgment and punitive behaviors has to be over. The new earth has to be where we evaluate everything from the energy and the love spectrum, not whether it's good and bad or right and wrong. Is it loving, right? So, let me grab these. These are 3 books that, again, have been instrumental in my personal development as a human. The Enneagram, this one, has, let me get out of the way here. This one has the actual personality test in it. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Oh, great, another personality test. This is unlike anything that I have, and I've done them pretty much all of them, okay? But this one, again, talks about you as a personality type and how to liberate yourself from those confines. This is another part of that book series. Right? This one's kind of like the Bible. This is the one that most people use. But the brown one has the test in it. Then I also really like this one. It's a little bit softer. It's a little bit more, like if you're brand new to the work, this one is really good in that it really breaks it down to very, very simple, comments and thoughts on personality types. But let me just read you each personality type, and so you get a sense of what it's about. All right, so there's 9, Enneagram is a 9-pointed star, right? You could see the 9 points on the star. So the type 1 is the reformer. My ex-husband was a 1. Ones tend to be very, it's black or white. There's very little gray in their world. So they tend to be a little dogmatic, and they don't pull any punches. They will just openly come for you. You're like, ah. That's how I spent a lot of my first marriage. Hiding in the basement with the kids while he's raging upstairs. So fun. Anyhow, type 1, the reformer. The principled, idealistic type. Ones are ethical and conscientious with a strong sense of right and wrong. They are teachers and crusaders, always striving to improve things, but afraid of making a mistake. Well organized, orderly, fastidious, they try to maintain high standards, but can slip into being critical and perfectionistic. They typically have problems with repressed anger and impatience. At their best, healthy ones are wise, discerning, realistic, and noble, as well as morally heroic. Right? So you can see the spectrum of the one under stress, right? Versus how they are when they're healthy. And when you get into this work, it really, it shines a light down your personal path based off of your just natural wiring in your brain. Right? Type 2s. My sister's a 2. John is a 2. My best friend is a 2. Like almost everyone in my world is a 2 because I'm a 3. The 2s and the 3s, kind of have a natural fit to them, right? But I'm not going to get into too much detail about that. So the type 2s are the helper, right? Natural born helpers. So, the caring interpersonal type, 2s are empathetic, sincere, and warm-hearted. They are friendly, generous, and self-sacrificing, but they can also be sentimental, flattering, and people-pleasing. They are driven to be close to others, and they often do things for others in order to be needed. They typically have problems taking care of themselves and acknowledging their own needs. At their best, healthy 2s are unselfish and altruistic and have unconditional love for themselves and others. Right? The type 3, I'm a 3 with a 4 wing. And again, the wing part makes it even more interesting because you start to blend the spectrum of the whole circle and it gets really interesting. I'm the same personality type as Oprah Winfrey. Yay! 3 with a 4 wing. But the type 3s are the achiever. No shock there. Right? The achiever. The adaptable, success-oriented type. 3s are self-assured, attractive, and charming. Ambiguous, competent, and energetic. They can also be status-conscious and highly driven for personal advancement. 3s are often concerned about their image and what others think of them. They typically have problems with workaholism and competitiveness. At their best, healthy 3s are self-accepting, authentic, and everything they seem to be. Role models who inspire others. All right, the 4s. The 4s, they have very natural Eeyore energy. Wah, wah. But we all know 4s. They tend to dress in black and be very, artistic. Johnny Depp comes to mind as it's a little bit goth. It's very pained. It's the artist who, feels just misunderstood, So that's a 4. I think my brother's a 4. Oh. The individualist, 4. The romantic, introspective type. 4s are self-aware, sensitive, reserved, and quiet. They are self-revealing, emotionally honest, and personal, but they can also be moody and self-conscious. Without withholding themselves from others due to feeling vulnerable and defective, they can also feel disdainful and exempt from ordinary ways of living. They kind of see themselves on the outside of society, kind of thing. Jack in my book is more of a 4. And I really leaned into my 4 wing, right, in order to get that experience down on the page, right? They typically have problems with self-indulgence and self-pity. At their best, healthy 4s are inspired and highly creative, available to renew themselves and transform their experiences. 5s. 5s I haven't met. 5s, 6s, and 7s I don't know that many of, which is weird because it's a whole wing, but anyhow. Type 5s are the investigators, the intense cerebral type. 5s are alert, insightful, and curious. They are able to concentrate and focus on developing complex ideas and skills. Independent and innovative, they can become preoccupied with their thoughts and imaginary constructs, right? They're very in their head. They become detached yet high-strung and intense. They typically have problems with isolation, eccentricity, and nihilism. At their best, Healthy fives are visionary pioneers, often ahead of their time and able to see the world in entirely new ways. Type 6, the loyalist. The committed, security-oriented type. Sixes are reliable, hardworking, and responsible, but they can also be defensive, evasive, and highly anxious, running on stress while complaining about it. They are often cautious and indecisive, but can also be reactive, defiant, and rebellious. They typically have problems with self-doubt and suspicion. At their best, healthy sixes are internally stable, self-confident, and self-reliant, courageously supporting the weak and powerless. Type 7, the enthusiasts. Oh, these are fun. They're the people who just eat, live, whatever, for tomorrow we may die, right? They're very in the moment and just do whatever feels like fun. Yay! Let's hang out with sevens. You might not get the bills paid, but right? Sevens, the enthusiasts. The busy, productive type, sevens are versatile, optimistic, and spontaneous, playful, high-spirited, and practical. They can also be overextended, scattered, and undisciplined. They constantly seek new and exciting experiences, but they can become distracted and exhausted by staying on the go. They typically have problems with superficiality and impulsiveness. At their best, healthy sevens focus their talents on worthwhile goals, becoming joyous, highly accomplished, and full of gratitude. They're fun people, right? We all know those. It's just fun all the time. All right. Type 8. Ooh. Oh my gosh, type 8. You're just like, our former president was a type 8. Like, they tend to be the bully on the playground, right? So, type 8, the challenger, the powerful, dominating type. Eights are self-confident, strong, and assertive, protective, resourceful, and decisive. They can also be proud and domineering. Eights feel that they must control their environment, often becoming confrontational and intimidating. They typically have problems with allowing themselves to be close to others. At their best, healthy eights are self-mastering and use their strength to improve others' lives, becoming heroic, magnanimous, and sometimes historically great. Don't know about that last part. Anyhow, moving on. Type 9, the peacemaker. Peacemakers. Okay, it sounds on the surface like these people are going to be great. And trust me, they're very easy to get along with in person. But when you try and pin them down to, say, a decision, even something simple like, what do you want to do this afternoon? Like, you can't get them to commit to anything. They're super slippery, right? They avoid confrontation at all costs, even when to do so would benefit themselves. They'll just back off and disappear. All right, the peacemakers, the easygoing, self-effacing type. Nines are accepting, trusting, and stable. They are good-natured, kind-hearted, easygoing, and supportive, but can also be too willing to go along with others to keep the peace. They want everything to be without conflict, but can tend to be complicated and minimize anything upsetting. They typically have problems with passivity and stubbornness. At their best, healthy nines are indomitable, that's a word, and all-embracing. They are able to bring people together and heal conflicts. So, if you have any interest in this at all, I highly recommend these books because, again, like, nothing explained me to me like these books did. And once I understood kind of my default wiring of my brain and the spectrum that I can travel through from unhealthy to healthy to beyond the confines of my personality, right? Because ultimately, when we evolve as humans, right, our personality is a bit of a set of axioms and default settings that has to be overcome if you really want to gain mastery and move beyond those default settings. Because those default settings at the end of the day will be holding you back, right? We don't want anything preordained, predetermined. In order to live in the joyous moment of now, you have to allow whatever there is to be what is. Right? And so to have these, constructs and default reactions, right, when you get to a certain point of evolution, is actually holding you back. Right? So that's what we're doing there. So anyways, I just wanted to do something fun today because it's Friday. And so if you have a chance, check it out. You can even do it online. I think there's free tests online. You can learn about it online. But again, that's been a really helpful tool for me. I hope that it helps you in your Youness. I don't know why that word cracks me up. But that's where it is. I'm going to keep working on my books. I am looking for creative writing groups where you can share your work and get feedback from peers. So if you know of such a organization or group that I could join, I really would love to get my books in front of a few more people. I thought I was doing that with that one woman in Arkansas. It was so upsetting. Because she was really excited about it, and then I gave her my book and she just ghosted me. She will not respond to me. I don't know if she got offended or she died. I don't know. It's just oh well, that's life. So anyhow, I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.